Welcome to LaunchCode with Mike and Paul, two industry veterans who will take you on their exciting adventure building their software company from the ground up. Get ready for cutting-edge tech insights, candid stories, and a whole lot of fun along the way. Welcome to their amazing adventure. Welcome to LaunchCode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of LaunchCode with Mike and Paul. My name is Paul Schneider. This is my good friend, Mike Dillon. Mike, how are you?
Excellent. Happy to be here. Thanks, Paul, for organizing this.
Hey, thanks for dressing up. Boy, I feel a little bit underdressed today.
You know, for once in my life, I'm here.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. Well, so
You don't want to see me stripped down, so that, let's keep it here.
it was better. We appreciate you dressing up.
Yeah.
So usually for this podcast, we talk about higher education, we talk about AI, we talk about starting a business, but today we are going to dive full force into higher education. And we are very excited to be speaking with the leadership of the Higher Education Users Group, otherwise known as the HEUG. They're a very loving organization, which I've known for a very, very long time. And before we get into, this is a bit of a reunion for everybody on the call, let me do some introductions. So for the episode today, I'd love to introduce Josh Vincent, who is the HEUG board president, Brittany Moon, who is the HEUG executive director, and Tom Chambers, who just learned about his new title today, which is the HEUG director of community and development. So welcome everybody to the podcast. We really do appreciate you being here. But like I had mentioned, this is actually a bit of a reunion because Brittany, Tom, and I have worked together for years. Mike and I have worked together for years. Josh and Mike have been a part of the HEUG and going to the Alliance Conference for years. So this is really kind of a nice little reunion.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, wonderful.
I tell you, it's and this is a fun fact, and I may have one part of it off, but prior to there being a formal organization, Clyde Morrell, who was a VP for finance at BYU, started the first, I'll say, pre-HEUG meeting, which was a part of a PeopleSoft conference, I believe in 1996, it tacked on the Sunday prior to the PeopleSoft annual conference in San Diego. And there was maybe 15 institutions that were PeopleSoft users at the time that joined up to have just an informal discussion. And now you can look at how the organization has grown and transformed over all these years, like 96. So you're dealing with almost 30 years of history. So really happy to have you here and really happy to talk about the future of the HEUG.
Yeah.
And
So
Paul, when did
go ahead.
when did you get involved? What was that, like 2000 with the HEUG?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what year was it? It was probably 2000, 2001-ish. My first meeting was going to SMU because that's really where it's kind of started to happen. And we had pitched the idea of HEUG Online. And my job was to go out and get sponsorships for HEUG Online, the very first HEUG Online, the very first sponsorships. And it was very, very well received. So that's where I kind of came in, and then, working with the board for years and years and years. And, then Socius, the company that we all worked for, we started doing some of the Alliance Conference and doing some of those things. So yeah, I've been it's almost like family when people talk about the HEUG or higher education. Like, even though, I had the software company, the HEUG was such a big part of everything that I did, and really the start of our company, that it holds a very, very loving place in my heart. So yeah, it's good to kind of come full circle and have everybody on. But maybe we can, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners know who the HEUG is, but just for those who don't, Josh, maybe you could start off by telling us a little bit about the HEUG, its mission, its impact that it makes in the industry.
Sure. So the Higher Education User Group is a global and international organization. It's an association of higher education, public sector organizations. All of the members, the users, belong to those groups. There are over 37,000 logins, users that participate in the HEUG and its online forums, attend events, whether they're the more local regional events or our flagship Alliance Conference every year. We span over 1,000 organizations, around 1,008, I think, last time I looked. And that's on 48 countries, 6 continents. We're not in Antarctica yet, but we're headed there kind of next. And the organization's primary purpose, the HEUG's primary purpose, is to, through connection and collaboration in this public good environment, focus on solving problems with technology, working together to figure out the right ways to advance. Maybe it's the academic mission of an organization, the challenges through compliance with new legislation, and all of those things. Through this group, we advance knowledge with the membership in ways. We have professional development and trainings. We share some of those best practices, the white papers and things like that, and co-develop those across boundaries, across borders. And then it helps us and our technology partners and vendors steer the needs to meet the technology meets our needs for years to come. It's a really great place to get involved. It's grown my career, it's grown my network, and I've always found you get more you put into it.
Yeah, I've noticed that over time with the people that have been on the board, like their network grew, even though they had a big one, but boy, their career grew as well. And it is a group that truly cares about their members. I mean, that is something that comes through with the organization time and time again. And,
Yeah.
Brittany, maybe you could tell us, because the HEUG, as we were kind of talking from the early days in SMU and then, kind of building, how has the HEUG grown and evolved over time? Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that's happened over the years.
Yeah. So since I've started working with the HEUG in 2014, we've made a number of significant changes over the years. Some that come to mind are, upgrading our technology in the community to make it easier for our members to connect in meaningful ways. Navigating through COVID was no small feat. We, had to take Alliance completely virtual in a matter of a couple weeks. And that was a huge accomplishment for our team. And then transitioning back to in-person events in 2022 and navigating all of the changes that we had to make during those time periods to, meet the requirements of every city that we were in. We've gone through a significant refresh of our brand and strategic plan to ensure that we're meeting our members where they are. Part of that change was moving to that vendor inclusive model in 2020. And it's been really wonderful building new partnerships with Workday and Ellucian, and still continuing a really strong relationship with Oracle. For me, it's been really exciting to see our members benefit by being able to attend one conference and getting the education and the connections that they need to be successful throughout the year. Another thing that we're working on right now is evolving our education offerings. We have a new query training series. We've been getting some really positive feedback about that. So you guys should go check that out on the HEUG community. And then for me, for a personal note, working with the HEUG for over the past decade has been extremely rewarding. When you talk about it being like family, the volunteers that I get to work with across the globe have become like family. So that's something that I'll forever cherish. And it's been a really wonderful experience for me.
Can I jump on the back of something that Brittany said that I think is just kind of neat, is when she said meeting members where they are piece. For me, it was interesting because when my first real entry into the higher education user group was in Las Vegas in 2017. And there was an announcement made that, PeopleSoft, which is kind of what this whole user group was founded on, right, was going to be supported. I think they said for the next 10 years or something like that, but the Oracle folks, but there was kind of this big, everyone was kind of gasping like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, this is happening situation. Years later, it's still something that's talked about quite a bit, but years later, we started to see our members coming to us saying, hey, look, we need more content around what to do. We want to hear about this. So I think from where I've sit in just this short time period over the last 6 years, 7 years, the HEUG's really evolved in that respect in terms of, hey, these were our roots. And now we're moving based off of what our members have asked us for in this new direction. That's really, it's been a challenge to navigate, I think, but a fun one, a fun challenge to navigate as well.
That's a really good point, Tom. And if we can elaborate on that, I'll throw it to Josh, from sort of that, executive team, which I know you've been on for a long time, this is sort of a rebirth of sorts, and certainly involving other vendors has been, that's a challenging step for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Can you speak to, how what, the decision to do it, and then, just sort of navigating it? Because I know it's not without its own issues, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. It's one we do hear quite a bit. And though I think the great way to look at it is when I describe meeting someone where they are, I mean both the members as individuals in their career and their professional development, as well as the organization members, those institutional members that are subscribers to the HEUG. So in my example, my day job's at Vanderbilt University, and we have, like many institutions, a patchwork landscape of technology. The HEUG wanted to best address and meet the needs of those organizations like my Vanderbilt where they were today. And, we were a PeopleSoft shop for some parts. We were, dare I say it, a green screen DOS-based GL implemented in the 80s for the finance side, cobbled together web apps and other things. So we weren't all one thing. And I don't know any of the institutions that are in our membership, and even those that aren't yet in our membership, that are all in on the one mothership or an all-in-one solution. In fact, whether they are on something like that today, they're going to evolve over time, just like the individuals develop in their career over time. And there's a lot of career mobility in higher education. I know that many of my colleagues joined our institution, and maybe they came from other places, not just in the Southeast, but across the country, coming in from NYU to our organization, maybe from some schools in California, et cetera. When we looked at all of those different factors about the patchwork landscape of technology getting connected together, we thought a lot about how do we best serve the community where they are today and where they're going. So that really looked at the people side and that professional development, as well as, well, you work somewhere with this technology footprint today, but if you were to go somewhere else, how do we make sure that we're equipping the members with appropriate awareness of what else is out there? But at the same time, your institution and mine will have a slightly different footprint or fingerprint, if you will. There's a lot in that we started to unpack as a group, explored. Of course, there are risks in taking any big change like that. But as we did that unpacking together and looked at a lot of the benefits for the other organizations, we did start to really circle around what's the best part of the HEUG. And that best practice sharing or best practice development through collaboration was near and dear to every single item we picked. It could be student records, it could be accounts payable and subject test participants, any of those myriad facets of higher education. We started looking more at the business processes that are enabled by technology and thinking there are many vendors that someone might choose. The vendor partners we have today are wonderful. They're not the only ones. And we want to bring people into the community, whether they are customers of our current vendor set or maybe on the vendor side don't yet serve our community, to address those needs, knowing that the vendors and the participants we want in the HEUG are the ones committed to the advancement of higher education and the public sector, and generally the public good globally. And it's been a great, some challenges, but a great evolution for this organization.
That's, I love the fact that it's a commitment to the members and helping them roadmap both individually their skill sets for the market and what the market's looking like in the future. And a quick side note, and I apologize to do this, but my connection with Vanderbilt was way back. So I led a company called Cyber and a global Oracle PeopleSoft, and we helped Vanderbilt. So we had signed a contract. I think we maybe were in process or had just completed the implementation of financial aid standalone, PeopleSoft financial aid standalone, which nobody had done before. But I was an earlier developer of the solutions startup, and Vanderbilt was looking for somebody that could help them implement financial aid. PeopleSoft financial aid standalone, and we had just done it. I said it can be done, so
Yeah.
we stepped in to do that. So anyway, a lot of history. I love the campus, by the way, one of the prettiest
Yeah.
campuses I've ever been.
But I appreciate
So
we all appreciate that here.
yeah, and yeah, you don't want to leave. Like on the campus, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm gonna pick up on your comment and throw it back over to Tom. So, as you market and you're looking at the member institutions, how is this, how do you sit there and say, hey, we're different from say an EDUCAUSE? Like we're certainly
yeah.
roadmap future, and how do we distinguish ourselves and add value that the community can't get anywhere else?
Sure. So part of my role here is sponsorships, right? And so there'll be a new entrant to this space that asks that same question. Hey, we provide higher ed IT services. Why should we go to your conference or be a part of your ecosystem versus EDUCAUSE? So it's a common one. You think I would have this super clean canned like rebuttal for, but the fact is I mean, and this is probably my opinion, and Josh and Brittany, if you have a different opinion, please jump in. But we're both organizations that support the use of technology in higher education. That's just a fact. Like we're both very similar in that way. I think where we're different is the HEUG is really evolved globally. So I don't think you're going to get as much of a global aspect with EDUCAUSE, and I could be wrong. So if someone else knows different than I do, please stop me. But we have a good, strong, active global network within the HEUG. So there's a lot of things, and actually I just had a conversation with one of our board members at this last Alliance, and he said, gosh, every year I come to Alliance, it's surprising how many times I see, US schools have the same issues we have. And you've already solved some of the problems that we're just now dealing with, or vice versa. So I think that's a really cool kind of, key differentiator between the two. I think that our purpose / focus is just a little bit different. If you look at like the mission statement and a lot of the content that comes out of EDUCAUSE, I think it's equipping these higher ed institutions with insights and industry knowledge that they've gathered and kind of curated. Whereas we're a grassroots, we are still that grassroots group from '96 that, got together with 15 schools, share and talk to each other. The good, the bad, the ugly, all that kind of stuff is a term that we throw around a lot with, with folks that I talk to and stuff. But it really is, it's the grassroots, Reddit version of, hey, this is how it is. And this is what we're dealing with, and this is what we did to fix it. So that's where you can go into the HEUG and kind of see that. I think we're very focused on the user experience, the system implementations, the operational efficiencies, all of the things that kind of like are critical. They're mission critical to the organizations that are members of the HEUG. So there's a lot of that. Whereas I think when you look at the focus of EDUCAUSE and where and I don't want to say they know a lot or they know a little bit about a lot, because I think there's a lot of great content there, but they're pretty broad. Cybersecurity, privacy policy, professional development. Like there's a lot of that stuff. I think we're going to be a little more specific to those experiences. So I'll stop there and let Josh or Brittany.
Well, if I could build on what you said, I think you talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of the things that we strongly believe in, and I think sets us apart with vendor conferences, with other organizations, conferences that might cross technologies, we are really curating as Tom described it, a user-led, story-based approach where people can share the roses and the thorns. Our organization isn't to try to persuade you to look at next gen everything and ignore what you already have. We're trying to do the enablement side of things. There are great new shiny cars on the lots out there that you could look at today. You might need one for some part of your life. Maybe you do need a second vehicle. But we also want to make sure we take care of, service, maintain, tell you how to get the most out of what you have. And it's about the experience our users will have owning that vehicle for, and these aren't 1 year, one and done things and they toss it away. You'll use this investment vehicle for decades at a minimum at these institutions. And I think that's really where it's not about what's that latest shiny thing out there, maybe a splash in the market. It's this investment your institution's making. These projects can cost not just millions of dollars, but tens of millions of dollars. That's the initial investment. If you're not getting more out of it year over year, you're really missing out. And our organization serves that group of people who are there to, what can I do to make our students' experience better? Maybe our faculty's administrative workload lower, or heck, how can I get to happy hour on time? I'd like to go see our volleyball team's first game. We've just started that as a scholarship sport. So like, I want to go see it. It's fast paced. I love those kinds of things at working at a university. And if I'm still filing away those pink slips or TPS reports because we never moved along, I would miss out.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. And I really appreciate the statement about trying to help customers get value out of the existing technology investment. And if I go and use PeopleSoft as an example, you know, they continue to extend, or Oracle continues to extend every year incrementally a 10 support window. And I was at Deloitte when we finished the implementation at United States Air Force Academy of Campus Solutions, which was just recent, like within a couple of years. And they're currently, and it may be the last campus solution cell, but Boston University is in the middle. They've got a phased implementation, and they're pretty close to being complete now with the phases. And you know, they chose it because that product is still more robust than the current available products on the market and for cloud products. So there's a whole ecosystem of PeopleSoft customers, both HR, finance, and student, but in particular on the student side, where there's opportunities to maximize that investment still. There's still untapped things that were never implemented in phase 1, 2, or 3 that are sitting on the table. And I love the fact that you're committed to saying, hey, you know, let us help you optimize, improve, and increase benefits to your end constituents or stakeholders with the product you already have, rather than spending the $10 or $20 million in adopting a new product. You might not need to do that just yet. Eventually you're gonna, but not just yet. So love that.
Well, let me change the tide a little bit here. So I have had the pleasure of working with a lot of HEUG board members over the years, as well as HEUG presidents. And I will be the first to say that it is a commitment. It is a job on top of the job in which you're currently doing, which is a full-time job. So Josh, I'm kind of curious, what made you decide to take on that commitment, that role of being the HEUG president?
Well, I think it's a great question. I've got a great answer for it, I hope, but I'll start with, I got involved in the HEUG through some colleagues that we'd worked on our implementation there at one of the consulting firms. They're very dear friends. I think we're more than just a work acquaintances, and encouraged once I got involved by Joellen Danucci at Boise State. She said, you know, I really think you're cut out for the board. For my background, that really did feel like a great fit. Growing up, you know, I was in the Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout, and doing those service projects and giving back to the community in volunteer capacities was important. When I went into undergraduate, our honors program that I was in also required these kind of service on Saturday events and things like that. That kind of flowed through when I was at law school at SMU. As we mentioned earlier, SMU, that was also part of kind of that work ethic they wanted to instill in all of these future attorneys. You need to develop a habit of doing pro bono work. That's part of the DNA of those graduates. We need that to be a part of it. moving back from Texas to Tennessee, that was something I did a lot of, being involved in civic organizations and giving back and volunteering in the local community. When I got more and more involved in Vanderbilt and had these opportunities and the HUG presented itself, I thought, here's an opportunity where my help might go the farthest and try to impact the most people on an industry that's purely focused on advancing the public good and the interest of all of us globally. I really got kind of jumped at the opportunity. It is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding when we see like this incredible event we've just completed in Phoenix with Alliance 24. It was wonderful. The events are one part of it, but that day-to-day, week-over-week efforts, not just for planning events, but what are we doing next? Where do we want to enrich our offerings with our community? What does the community want? Let's do some listening tours. It's really great. I'm also, not paid in dollars, but paid in experience. I'm learning more than I ever expected to. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to work with Tom and Brittany. They help us, and all of the other board volunteers. They do an incredible job balancing that work and then the HUG aspects. And when we get our chances to see each other in person, it's fun again. It is like a family.
Yeah, I can
fantastic.
attest that it is a good time when everybody gets together. It is a lot of work, but it is a family. I mean, that term has come up a couple times now as we've been talking, but it is really true. It's a family of really good people. So that's great.
No,
So,
I was gonna
go
just,
ahead.
I was gonna do a quick plug on what a incredible job Josh has done to in this term of his presidency so far. It's been he's been very, very active, and from a staff perspective, everyone's really appreciated working with him as we implement a lot of the changes that we've been kind of going through.
I appreciate that, Tom. We're on the grow. That's the plan, right? We are growing as an organization because technology is advancing quickly. Let's get as many as we can on board because everyone gets a paddle. We'll move the ship along together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That wasn't a paid announcement, right?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Like, I'll get your breakfast next time I see you.
just a little, hey, just a little friendly gratitude.
Yeah.
That's great.
So tagging on to that as well. We talked about the conference, we just finished it up, right? Just earlier in the month. So, this is kind of open to everybody, but I'll throw it to Tom first as an organizer. What were the key takeaways this year? And as you think about, the subsequent years, anything, lessons learned, key benefits that you hear customers talk about over and over again?
So as Brittany kind of alluded to, like the challenges that we've had to overcome coming back from COVID, which all associations or user groups like ours have kind of shared, rethinking the delivery of the event. How do we get, butts in seats basically, to come check out our event? I think this year we engaged with the folks at Beyond Academics and their marketing arm to help kind of punch things up. And I think when I look back at Alliance 24, it's going to be like 10 years from now, if I'm still doing this, it's going to be, that was the year that the tide turned, because this was, we introduced something called HUGX, the spinoff of the TEDx talks. So short kind of motivational storytelling style presentations. We had Erica Bellini from ServiceNow do she was going to be there in person, but she had an emergency come up, so she recorded her talk. Kyle Bone from Arizona State, director of IT, and then Laura Ibsen, the CEO of Lucian, all did these kind of like brief HUGX talks that we're getting a lot of great feedback from attendees on already, that want more of that kind of bite-size motivational talk. One of the big things that was really something that we had been talking about a lot was reducing sessions. So Brittany will probably tell you and Paul, I'm sure you probably remember, like the Alliance conference was 350 sessions, like 15, 16 tracks concurrently. Like we serve a lot of different areas within the organization. We reduced that dramatically. We reduced it by about a third. So the reason being is because we really wanted to focus on quality. So the early feedback so far has been, wow, the sessions looked really good. It was painful at first because some of our speakers or some of the folks that had submitted sessions said, hey, what's going on? I was accepted last year, but not this year. What's the deal? And so we're trying to provide feedback and all that, but the reduction of sessions, it enabled us to provide high quality sessions and provide more time for some of the new stuff like HUGX. The other things we started to introduce were like town halls. So popular sessions, putting those at our main stage. We did a cloud intensive workshop this year that the folks at Beyond hosted along with Josh and Casey Brown that has really had a lot of positive feedback from Alliance 24. But I think for me, it's really just the quality, the polish. That was kind of the key takeaways I had. I'll be quiet now. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, I think
No,
that's
it was
great. And like to add to that, I feel like this year we just really elevated the conference because, coming out of COVID, we were up against financial restrictions and all of that. So to be able to bring back that main stage feel with all of those sessions and the keynotes, I think really brought it back, like Alliance is back, like we're back to where we were post-pandemic, and it's starting to really come up. I think adding to your point about the sessions, we introduced focus areas this year, trying to really tie that to the communities of practice. So you can go to a number of sessions around a focus area, technology or financials or anything, and it can be the best of breed. It doesn't have to be tied to a specific vendor. So that was new this year, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback about that. And that's something that we're going to continue to refine and tweak as we go into A25.
Yeah, I really appreciate all you do, Brittany, with it's a constant continuous improvement, right? You're always looking for something new and creative. So yeah, thank you for all the efforts there. And Josh, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, one of the most memorable exchanges, I think I saw it occur on 2 different days and 2 different events at different audience levels. And it was really wonderful to hear some of these exchanges. But the discussion that Casey, who's also on the board from Embry-Riddle, and I were helping facilitate was on the transformation, the journey to the cloud, and a lot of discussions about what makes an institution more or less ready, what makes it more attractive to make a big technology transformation, or what factors might say, let's reinvest in what we already have, make the appropriate tweaks, commit some time to that. And when we had that discussion, which was targeted more towards that middle management and individual contributors who would be turning wrenches and hitting things with hammers in an implementation, but also at the C-suite forum that we had at the same time, it was really incredible discussion and dialogue. And we could take what we heard from some of those folks that are in the trenches doing the work and kind of take that same message, kind of synthesize a lot of those different sentiments, share that in the C-suite thing for them to kind of ponder over. And the questions that they would ask, we talked about that false paper progress of a Gantt chart of 24-month implementation. It looks like we're doing all this work because the bars are moving, but the business hasn't changed yet. And so some really great conversations about not a specific, set this checkbox to this value. Like wasn't some of the greatest takeaways that I experienced, but having those discussions was really incredible. The other thing I'd say about Alliance in 2024, Phoenix was an incredible host city. They did a wonderful job. We got great feedback. It's a safe city to walk in. The hotels, the convention center, all of that was wonderful. It might not have appeared to folks, maybe if you're especially in the southern half of the United States, as a destination. If you're in the northern part of the United States, you're probably thinking, I can't wait to get somewhere warmer. But it really is a destination city. I'd love to go back sometime, but I've got to say, Alliance 25 is the one to really, if they had any excuses about coming to Phoenix, you're going to want to be at Alliance 25 because we're going to New Orleans. It's going to be incredible.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, and I can say that being on the vendor floor hall during the conference, we heard a lot of really wonderful things about the conference and the changes you guys have made as well. So I echo.
That's great to hear.
Well, let me throw out a question to all of you. So clearly it's a lot of work, everything that you do, working with the HUG. working for the HUG. But there's some cool and fun things I would imagine that you get to do as well. So maybe you can share with some of our listeners, just what are some things that people wouldn't guess you get to do or you get to experience as being either on the board or just working with the HUG?
Who wants to go first?
I'll start with a funny one. One of the
Okay.
things that's always been maybe one of the most rewarding and informative parts is with our international colleagues coming over. We have several on the board, and I think that's an important aspect of our board makeup, is to get those perspectives at a decision maker level for the organization. Hearing the kind of fun things that they want to do when they come to visit the United States and things like that, but also even hearing and learning like, oh, you get to do this. So we have some teasing back and forth. And for those of you who may not be aware, one of our board members, Jasper Faber, is from the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And today in our board group chat, we were teasing him just a little bit to explain what's going on over there in the spring, as there is apparently a fish doorbell. If you haven't looked this up, it's worth going on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, platform that you like to look it up. But fish ring a doorbell, people watch a live stream and can let the fish through the door to help with fish migration. I mean, it's incredible. So we were asking him to explain himself. So that we have some fun like that. It really is good. I'll turn it over. I think Tom and Brittany also have incredible insights.
I would say something that's fun is when we're scoping out the next city, learning about the city. Because, you know, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, when you're like logistically going through everything from start to finish. So, hey, you know, the airport's X amount of miles. How are they going to get to the, you know, airport from here? What are they going to do in their off time? How close are restaurants? What can we do? Like all of that stuff. So that's interesting. And then, you know, in those moments, you get to learn a little bit about the history, or, you know, maybe it's a random building that, you know, you get to learn about. Those types of things are cool, for me at least, in terms of working on the HUG. And that's, I guess, in between all of the other things that you're doing, to take a moment out to kind of see that kind of stuff is neat.
I think
Yeah,
we're really
to play off
happy.
of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right. I was just going to say, I'm really happy that you took 6 or 7 trips to New Orleans just to make sure that
Yeah.
you vetted thoroughly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh no, I was just gonna play off of that. I think like with what Tom was saying, like when we're doing the site selections, like the cities really are showcasing like the, you know, everything that they have to offer. So it is a lot of fun. You get to learn a lot about a lot of the history of the city, and then you get to like figure out how we're going to incorporate that into the programming and that into the member experience. And so I always really enjoy that. And then to Josh's point with our international members, we also have an international member from Canada, Kelly Wilker, and her and Jasper love to have like cookie offs of like who has the best cookie at board meetings. So I always enjoy the treats that they bring over.
Yeah, the delightful little waffles we got one
the Stroop
time.
waffles.
Yeah.
Yep, they're delicious. So I always enjoy all of the treats.
Cool.
I think that's an important part. Like I'll never forget, Paul, when you kind of helped with the handoff when I came to Seattle, and you were explaining the closing night event for the conference. Like these, if you've never been to Alliance, it's you know, we do throw like a good closing night party to kind of wrap up the whole event on the Tuesday night. It's usually on a Tuesday night. And Paul was walking me through, and he's like, yeah, and then we're gonna have the Seattle Fish Market's gonna throw fish over here. And then we had some breweries that were able to come into the event. So it was awesome. I mean, you had a live band going, and you had a little chunk of Seattle in the Seattle Convention Center. So for all those attendees that came from all over the world, it was like, hey, you know, we were able to do all of that in one little space. It's fun. It's neat.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, I think one of the things that we're all kind of circling around, we've said family a few times, but one of the things that makes the HUG board work really well is actually one of the things that makes the HUG work really well. And that's the ability to do that work hard and make time to fellowship with each other, build those relationships.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. And I think it's an asset we've all developed that helps us with that remote or hybrid workforce coming out of the pandemic, that by being accustomed to finding ways to build connections when apart or when there's limited in-person time, because we don't get to see each other in person that often. How do we make the most of those things? And in a way that when we are back in our normal work environments, I'm back in Nashville, Brittany and Tom are in the Phoenix area. Others will be, as we've discussed, in Amsterdam and Canada and all over the United States. How do we stay connected? And it is a lot about building those relationships, the trust, the comfort, knowing how to joke with each other so that it's a fun thing to do, especially for the volunteers. And the whole organization is primarily powered by the volunteers that want to advance not only their own cause. I think that's the great part. It's a selfless organization. We want to help each other, want to see other people solve problems, even if they're not our own.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, this has been fantastic. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. Last question, really more maybe a parting comment from all of you, any of you, to HUG members, maybe non-members, just about words of wisdom of how to interact with the HUG, just anything you might want to share to folks and how to engage the organization better.
Can I do a quick one? I'll be fast. All right. Hashtag, we're not just a PeopleSoft local user community. I'm still trying to push that out. Like we do a lot more. The other thing I want to mention is we just launched a new marketplace. If you're in higher ed institution, and Elastiforce is a member of our marketplace. It's a place where our community can come and sort very quickly higher ed solutions. It's pretty comprehensive. I don't think anyone else has anything out there like it. It's amazing. Go check it out. It's on our website. If you have questions, support@hug.org. The other thing is thank you to all of the corporate members of the HUG. I just want to quick plug on that. We've got like 30 corporate members that help support year-round educational initiatives, and they're in the communities helping customers all year round. So those are my two things. Those are two parting comments, and I'll be quiet.
I'll do a quick one too. So we have started planning for our global regional events. So we should be having more information come out soon, but those will be happening this fall. Just as a reminder, we're not having US regionals this year. We're working on evolving that programming. So you'll see those coming back in 2025. But I'm going to use this time to plug Alliance 25 in New Orleans again. So mark your calendars, March 9th through 12th. We want to see you there. New Orleans is going to be awesome. And yeah, hug.org if you guys want to engage with the community. We're all there to help you.
By the way, we both went really fast because there's a chance Josh's could be long. And we just wanted to make sure if we run out of time on our Zoom account that Josh has enough time to finish up.
I may wax poetic. We never can tell how it's going to roll out. But I will say, and so my strong recommendation, the words of wisdom I'd like to share with everyone is, if you're not a member of the HUG, you need to join. Come on in. We want you. You want to be here. We have open arms and we're ready to bring you in and embrace you as one of our own. It's a great place to be. If you're in the HUG already, I encourage you to invest more of your time in the HUG. The more you put in, whether it's through posts in the message boards and the forums, the listservs, etc., whether it's attending webinars, the more you put in, the more I truly feel you get out of this organization. A lot of folks might hesitate. Why would I share that? That doesn't seem novel or interesting. I promise you, to someone it is. And as we curate more and more content as a composite organization from all of these different members, the more valuable the HUG becomes. So it's by feeding it, it feeds us and our development and growth. So again, as you come up with ideas, it's so many opportunities for us to share some things that you think of, well, I solved that, big deal. Share. Someone else is facing the same problem and might be too shy to reach out about it. But if you've also got something, a thorny issue, you can't traverse that hurdle, posting about it's a great way to open the doors. No one here, it's not an organization that is filled with judgment. We'd like to help where we can. So if someone says, I don't know how to do X, I guarantee you someone does and would feel great showing you how to find success.
Those are great finishing comments. Well, Josh, Brittany, Tom, thank you all for joining us today. Again, if you want to learn more about the Higher Education Users Group, go to HEUG.org. That's it for this episode of LaunchCode with Mike and Paul. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.
You have been listening to LaunchCode with Mike and Paul. You can find all episodes on your favorite podcast services and on our website at elastiforce.com. In addition, if you have software development or Oracle or PeopleSoft managed service needs, visit us at elastiforce.com and let's see how we can help.